Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all on this bright sunny morning to this very first talk of Alumni Talks series, which we believe will strengthen the alumni student relationship and provide students an opportunity of mentorship from none other than their own seniors. And today, it's a real privilege for us to have as our first speaker of the talk series, Mr. Amit Mohan sir from the batch of 1992-96. Amit sir is a part of leadership team and heads the business of LCS Digital, and inside sales for India and South Asia region. And prior to joining GE Healthcare, Amit sir was an entrepreneur running a healthcare startup and has over 20 years of senior management and leadership experience with major companies like Johnson's& Johnson's, Asian Paints, Smith& Nephew, and now GE Healthcare. Today, as you all know, with so many career options, it is a real challenge to decide how to navigate our career, and the current changes due to the pandemic have added a layer of complexity on the top of all of it. So, to guide us on how to navigate this great reset and digital transformation, I would like to invite Amit sir to enlighten us all on the same. Amit sir.
Thank you, Tanvi, and good morning, everyone. It's always a privilege to be back at your own college, and I think uh, REC, the way it was called during those days, REC. We used to call ourselves Reckers, and it's always nostalgic to be back on the college. But before I start in the earnest, I think I'll take a moment to extend my sincerest gratitude to the organizing team, the career management team, and all others involved in organizing this talk. When Dr. Chandna gave me a call saying that, Amit, we want to kick off the series and we want you to do the first one, my instant answer was it will be honor. Without knowing the time frames, the dates, and anything. I was actually thinking that how do I start this conversation with all of you? And then the best segue I could think of was my old photographs, because that call from Dr. Chandna took me to dig into my cartons and things like that and pull out my REC album. During those days, we used to have hard copies of pictures. No, nothing like a JPG file and clicking on phones and things like that. And it was pretty a nostalgic journey, I think. Going through that kind of gave me a chance to relive one of the most joyous and kind of cherished memories of my life. I think REC laid the foundation stone, or NIT Kurukshetra as it's called today, laid the foundation of stone for the kind of individual and the professional I am today. And so would be the truth for almost all of my batchmates. We keep in touch. We made friends for life. We had fun. During those days, I think we were more interested in having the right balance of fun and having that career orientation. When I go to campus today, mostly business campuses, I see people so ingrained in the career discussion and how their career will progress, where they'll be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what will they be doing towards the end of their career. I find it intriguing. I'll put it that way. But then, given the fact that that's something which would be occupying so much of your mind space, I thought that would be a good place to start, because it would be a kind of a personal satisfaction to see NIT Kurukshetra doing well, NIT Kurukshetra students doing well. I would just say that before I really segue into the presentation, the way I have structured it, I have kept it pretty light. I try to give you just broad contours of what industry looks like, what the professional ecosystem is like today, what one should be focusing on, and then towards maybe after 30 odd minutes of my speaking, I'll be more than happy to take questions and address any concerns you might be having as from your career point of view and from any professional standpoint of view. I mean, I would say that don't look at me through the lens of being a corporate senior or industry senior. Look at me from someone who's like, I don't know how the bond works today between the first year and the fourth year, but the entire ecosystem is available. I mean, if we had a problem, when I was passing out, I was in hostel number 5. When I came into REC, I was in hostel number 3. I still remember second year, I had some concerns and issues, and there was one senior in hostel number 5 at that point of time. And I just walked up to him and said, Joe, I need some time with you. And that's how it happened. And that's the kind of brothership which works. I know all of us gain knowledge by studying, reading, observing, by doing and experiencing things. Each method has its trade-off, and in terms of time and investments of efforts. I personally believe that the easiest way to learn is learning from the experience of others. And for that to happen, it is extremely important to share knowledge from one's experience. And I would use this opportunity to be as candid as possible about my journey, about how I tried to reshape my future. Rather, I'll put it this way: the future reshaped me actually. I believe knowledge shared is as good as knowledge squared. So precisely this is the reason that we are all here today. I'd like to express my gratitude for this opportunity once again, and we'll get into what I have to share, and then we can take questions. So next slide, please, Tanvi. Well, the Great Reset. I think even before the pandemic hit us, I think we were in that phase where things were being done digitally, and digital transformation kind of became the buzzword. Before I really talk about the Great Reset, I think one of the things which people make a mistake of talking about it or understanding, and this is true. I mean, I was at Columbia about a year and a half back, and we were having this discussion. Before we get into the Great Reset discussion, I think we need to understand what digital is. Because people have different notions about digital, and I would say that it's not only the students. I think even I see this happening in the industry ecosystem. Um, I mean, some when we are passing out, we used to code on COBOL, Pascal, and things like that. We used to work on a chip which used to be called as 286 and 386. I mean, those chips don't survive, and it will not survive the speed what is required today. People, when they transitioned from that, they started getting into something called as a. I mean, when I was passing a Y2K was a big buzzword. Most of you people who just have been born at that point of time, and that kind of changed things. Uh, I found it very interestingly about 3 4 years ago. IT companies started calling themselves as digital companies, and which is true to an extent actually. But having said that, um, uh, digital is not about technology. We need to understand this. Because when we look at from the business perspective, when we take a decision, a strategic, and this goes true not only in healthcare. I see this in aviation, which is another part of G business. I am on various industry forums when I talk to people, and I think everybody agrees to this that the understanding has about technology. It's about leveraging technology. More importantly, to drive efficiencies and effectiveness in whatever you try to do. So having said that, I'll segue into what I'm going to talk about today. And We all know that change is the only constant, and the present change has been so revolutionary that it has kind of reset the basic fundamentals. It has kind of forced us to revisit the thoughts and allow us to start reimagining and redrawing the future course. What used to be the normal about a year ago is not normal anymore. I mean, world has changed 180 degrees, and if I may say so, if one was normal in about a year ago, and if 10 is normal today in the pandemic times, are we going back to one at any point of time? The answer is no, we are not. Because this pandemic also forced us to figure out a lot of ways of doing efficient things. People can work from home. There are merits and demerits in that. So at some point of time, we will definitely go back towards one, but we'll not go back to one. We'll probably end up at number 5 or 6. So that is the kind of new normal. So what you're thinking your career will be like about a year ago, that has been majorly been disrupted. And if the situation has thrown numerous challenges, I think it has also opened up a new unthinkable opportunities. So as we tread our path cautiously, surmounting these challenges and realizing the opportunities, I can say this with a lot of conviction, as we are seeing in our daily work. I mean, I handle the healthcare business, as Tanvi mentioned, wherein we are responsible for saving patients, especially in the critical care areas and which would be your ICUs and operation theaters and all. And my particular business is around ICU ventilators, anesthesia workstations, monitors, ICU monitors. Your diagnostic cardiology, which will be typically be your Holter, ECG equipments, maternal infant care, which will be your baby warmers, incubators, and things like that. And I also handle the digital portfolio at G Healthcare around digital operation rooms, digital ICUs, and NICUs. So in today's conversation, obviously I'll be dipping down a lot into my experiences and understanding of the healthcare industry. But I'll be more than happy to take questions from other industries as well. And you most importantly, uh, don't think any question is, for a choice of better word, I'll use the word stupid. No question is stupid. Only answers can be stupid. So feel free to ask any questions. Because if you don't ask that question, you'll not surpass that mental block what you have. And it's extremely important. And if I can add that to you today, align your thought process, channelize your energies in the right direction, and help you discover your potential. I think that will be the greatest satisfaction I can take back today. What So moving on, I think I'll talk about how technology is reshaping the world. What will be the new future business value? Accordingly, new skills required, new job opportunities created. We'll specifically talk in detail about healthcare, as I mentioned earlier, and digitalization themes across healthcare. How one can adapt to be a successful professional in these changing times. Career choices in healthcare, what potentially those can be, and most importantly, role of startups in solving the age-old problems in their evaluation. This is not a part of initially my thoughts when I was thinking about this particular talk. But I thought today, when a student passes out of engineering college, what are the options he or she contemplates? And that brought me to a startup because typically either you'll try to become a bureaucrat or you try to go into a corporate world as an employee and make a name for yourself. You go into a family business. But I see that a lot of passion, a lot of discussion happening around owning your company, and I think that's a great thing. I mean, frankly speaking, when we are passing on 96, while we're in the verge of this startup revolution and internet revolution, uh, many of us tread that path, but it was not the theme on the campuses and the hostels. Digital technology has changed the way that we have been doing things. It has transformed, and therefore it has kind of reset the whole way of looking at things. And that's why it's aptly called as digital transformation. Automation, because of exponential digital technologies, you all would be familiar, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, cloud, blockchain, advanced analytics. I think they have transformed every facet of modern life. Digital technology has reduced efforts and errors, added to the creativity and innovation, made us more effective and efficient, and opened up new ventures to grow and collaborate. I mean, things which we could never even thought of maybe 10 years ago, even, why 20 years? And I passed 24 years ago, actually. Future lies in continuous innovation, and this is a theme I'll pick up and I'll talk to you as to how you should, and I'll underline the word should, continuously innovate yourself as well. The importance of skilling and reskilling, unlearning and learning, I think that's extremely important. Things that's the new normal which you guys should adapt to. And this continuous innovation, I'll talk through innovative ways in new products, new processes, new service, a new solution, and everything should start with a customer problem. That's where the product and services are sold and delivered, and that those are things which needs to change. We are seeing the same happening across industries, whether it's healthcare, fintech, infrastructure, real estate, IT, BT. I mean, you can talk about any industry; those have been untouched. And no, there's no industry which has been untouched. Whether the digital revolution, digital transformation, digital technology adaptation, or whatever you might call so that is the mainstream of the innovation today. Moving on, Tanvi, help me with the next slide. The changing face of healthcare, I think, talking about healthcare specifically, there are multiple stakeholders. Some of the common challenges faced by them are when it comes to patients, it's about awareness, accessibility, affordability. When it comes to healthcare professionals, it's about safety, security, skill upgradation, burnout. I mean, all of you would have heard about doctors and nurses and other healthcare professionals working 24 by 7, and the kind of risks what they have been taking. In fact, digital technologies can help mitigate that as well. When it comes to providers like hospitals, offboarding, scheduling, tracking staff, inventory, billing, etc. And for insurance payers, things like reimbursements, claim settlements, norms and benchmarks and the legal framework for regulatory. Healthcare is an industry which is extremely governed by regulatory frameworks because whatever we do impacts the life, and that's why it's extremely important that we all have a model code of conduct, and we kind of are extremely sensitive about the fact that what we try to do actually helps save a life in the moments that matter. And we are most of the healthcare industry professionals we'll be talking about is extremely passionate about these lines. We try to make a difference in people's life. So my mentioning this line was not from a personal perspective. I wanted you to pick up this word passion. I mean, all of you when came into engineering college because of different motivations. Somebody really liked engineering. Somebody was born in a family where everybody was engineer, so he wanted to become an engineer. Somebody wanted to engineer because parents wanted you to become an engineer. That's okay. That's behind you. I always say that while past has an implication in who you are today, it's you who will become what you want to become. So that discovering your passion is not going to happen today or tomorrow. But be very very I would say sensitive about this fact. Keep it at the back of your mind, saying that okay, what is my passion? What gives me a kick when I get up in the morning and say, oh wow, I want to take the day head on with both my hands. And there's a personal thread there, which I'll visit later on if there's a question around that. Um, uh, and transformation is taking across all the stakeholders, what I mentioned in the earlier, and I think it's happening similarly for all the other stakeholders in different industries. Next slide. Digitalization across healthcare. I'll just spend a few more minutes on this healthcare piece because I can, while I can, I have. While I started my career with ABB, post that did my MBA, and then I went into a consumer discretionary company called Asian Paints, and then worked for Citibank, and then finally moved to healthcare in 2004, where I found my passion. I'll put it that way. So I'll be talking more about healthcare. And feel free to pick up my thoughts around that. Given the times we are in, and I think next 15-20 years, I think healthcare would be the industry in vogue. Healthcare is where many of the innovations will happen. I'll not say most of the innovations. And as I was saying, digital transformation is about technology, and is playing a critical role in driving access and affordability. The pain points, what I was saying more from the patient perspective earlier, improving accuracy and speed of diagnosis, and reducing the dependence on scarce resources. Healthcare is seeing digitalization across various themes. Um, uh, I mean, if you're interested, I can talk about smart care, virtual care, remote care, connected care, home-based care, telehealth, including telesurgery, tele-ICU, teleconsultation. And these are high-quality healthcare delivery systems across geographies remotely through connected clinical systems or intelligent medical devices. Then we can talk about advanced learning, machine learning, chatbots, cloud-based networks, data storage, dissemination, and connected equipment. All this play a kind of vital role in offering patients a smart treatment. Wireless technologies are further augmenting this penetration. If somebody, I mean, if I have to go back to 96 when I was passing out and think of healthcare, and frankly speaking, I did not had a perspective of what healthcare is. It's a funny story I have how I joined J&J, but maybe we'll save it for another day. Um, uh, I mean, many of the things what I see today might have looked like out of a science fiction movie at that point in time. I mean, we have nanobots and biobots, which actually goes into body and transmits image through wireless technology. I mean, and it travels through veins and arteries and things like that. But yeah, that's what it does. Artificial intelligence in healthcare is like a dawn of life-changing automation that can leapfrog conventional medical setting to a whole new level. Artificial intelligence-based medical bots, and what I was mentioning earlier, the biobots and the nanobots can analyze symptoms, detect diseases, suggest the right medicines. Indian innovators are already making biobots to augment retinal scanning, mammography, ECG interpretations. I mean, if you guys would have heard Sundar Pichai talking about 2 years back as to what are the new vistas Google wants to get into, he was mentioning his their Google's tie-up with a hospital in South India, where they are investing a lot into retinal scanning. I mean, a technology company is getting into healthcare, and I'll talk about the startups a little later because that's also part of my portfolio today, wherein I try to augment and assist the G healthcare portfolios. Most of the startups I deal with and which I evaluate, I mean, those are run by engineers. They are designed by engineers. I mean, it's not the healthcare is no longer about a medical professional. It's about technology, leveraging technology. Artificial intelligence can kind of foster a virtual nursing environment, a surgical environment, without risking the healthcare provider that risk of catching an infection the way it is happening today in the ICUs, especially because of COVID and all. Your AI can also help in evidence-based treatment. Intelligent patient information management systems and enterprise systems, patient onboarding, offboarding, scheduling. I mean, you think of any system in the hospital. I mean, everything can be digitized, and your digitalization can leverage those actually. You have today. Um, I think we have today industry. Most of the other companies also have that today. We have interconnected equipments. We call them. So we have a concept called as clinical cockpit, but that will be too much of a technical detail for you guys. But what I wanted to say here is that we have a smart and intelligent medical equipments today. Those were not designed by doctors. Those were not made by doctors. Those were made by engineers like you, engineers in making like you. All you need to have is that let your discover your passion, and that might not be necessarily in healthcare. That can be in any other field as well. So that's okay. But discover your passion, and have a dream. Dream that dream every day. That's extremely important. And Apple got into wearables. They have Apple Watch which monitors the heart rate, walking steps, and all. I mean, this that's like getting into a segue of medical technologies. Every company has a play in healthcare today. Consumer wearables, Apple made that a fad. Samsung got into it. You have Fitbit today. Companies today are talking about patients outside the hospital, wherein people can wear a device and that's connected to a server which is there in the hospital, and everything can be monitored. That's how you can optimize the occupancy rates in hospitals, beds in the hospitals, especially where resources are kind of constrained. You have advanced software solutions and deeper understanding of patient data storage, computing like electronic health records or electronic medical records evaluation. We have this concept of e-hospitals, wherein even before walking into the hospital, your registration, appointment, your view of the billing, viewing your diagnostic reports, everything can happen online today. I mean, and then we have something called the robotic process automation. I think a couple of weeks back, I went into a kind of a demonstration of a new product, which is still at least 5-6 years away, wherein we are saying that today when you go into surgery, and incidentally, along the way in healthcare, I also became the trained operation theater assistant. So I'm trained to be an OT assistant. But so that's not the point. The point is that when you go into OT today, you have a surgeon, and then you have a whole host of people. There's an anesthesiologist, then there's a nurse, there's a somebody who's handling the instruments and things like that. I saw the system wherein you just need the anesthesiologist and the surgeon, and everything is robotic, everything is automated. I mean, would I like to be in such an environment with only two people around with machines handling my body? Maybe not. But then that is just a invention which we might or might not want to leverage. Next slide, Tanvi. So how are we preparing for this great reset? I think we'll definitely have to reimagine and redraw the fundamentals. I think how can we navigate through this world as it will be very different and fast changing needs. World is already different from when I passed in '96. World would be different from when you pass out. Will be different from um, uh, when you got into NITKAA Kurukshetra. A funny experience, and some of you might be talking to your parents, grandparents, and all. Especially my parent days, actually. If we used to buy a television set, that television set was good enough to be handed over to the next generation. I mean, television life used to be like 10, 15, 20 years. A refrigerator in the house was like good for 20 years. There used to be a phone, a dial-in phone, wherein we never thought of buying a new phone every year. Technology was so predictable at that point in time. Today, I mean, 4 years is a long time. I think even a year is a long time today. I'd also say that while all those things are happening, data is the new raw material actually, and complemented by the right skill set and tools with fair and trustworthy practice. And I'll underline the trustworthy part a lot here, especially around the kind of conversation we have been having around data and data leakages and data thefts and all. I think anybody handling the data needs to be needs to have an extremely trustworthy practice. The scale of opportunities can be humongous. The business just needs to prepare for change, and if you are at that point where you can actually make a difference by your thoughts, your actions, you will make yourself. I'll put it this way. Business agility would be key to navigate. I would say during the beginning of this conversation, I said that work from home has become a new normal. There are companies and their CEOs, when I talk to them, these are the guys, 1 year down the line, they used to, no. I mean, at GE, we have this culture. You can work from anywhere, but you need to be available to your team members and your customers. And if that means that you have to be in office, be in office, but it's not a necessity. But then there were companies who used to have this mandatory time punching thing. You have to report at 8 o'clock. Yeah, whether you work till 11, that really doesn't matter. And I was talking to those CEOs and they said like, boss, I mean, I don't know how to behave. And they are trying to change. In all fairness, I'd say they are definitely trying to change. So what it would do is that organization structure becomes structurally fluid. Creative individuals that can resort to quick adaptation to an ever-changing landscape of customer needs. I think they will do well. Creativity will be the new effort and the new tool. And remind me to talk about this work from home thing, because there's also an instance which happened over the last 1 year, which might be a learning for people like you, which I would definitely like to mention. Creativity will be a kind of definitely something which will help. Value chain will supply. I mean, will supplant the supply chain. So what we call as a supply chain, and great field adds a lot of value, but people will be more talking about value chain rather than supply chains actually. And I've already seen that conversations happening in different forums, industry bodies, and things like that. And IT, where earlier used to be just a department in the whole thing, I think they are becoming business partners today, and they are definitely business partners. And in the interest of time, I'll just try to move a little quickly. Your the private equities and the venture capital investments kind of continues to rise in industries like fintech, health tech, edutech, and insurance. So just be a little cognizant about what's happening in those industries, because that's where most of the interest lies today. And next slide, Tanvi. Okay, the successful professional roles and skills. I think with whatever I mentioned, who would be a successful professional in such a kind of a setup? I think today the demands, and this might change 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, depending on where technology would change us. I think today the big focus areas for companies and individuals who are trying to make a differences are around artificial intelligence, machine learning, and big data. Your mobile and web development, data engineering, UI and UX design, cybersecurity being the very, very big one. I can tell you this. I mean, we are lucky at GE that we started the cybersecurity journey in 2004. So we were way ahead of the industry. But some of the people, for them, it's like they're waking up in the morning, opening their eyes and realize that, boss, we need to go there, and cybersecurity is going to be a big one. Cloud computing, advanced web solutions, your blockchains, IoTs is going to be another big one, at least from where I see things actually. And nanobots and microbots, what I mentioned earlier in medical diagnosis, I think that's where I was coming from. Testing and quality assurances, because obviously and specifically from healthcare perspective, that becomes important, the quality assurance, because we always work in a regulatory framework, and those regulatory frameworks keeps on changing, and there's no way those regulatory frameworks are going to go away. And obviously around things around program and delivery management. Specific to healthcare, I would like to just underline artificial intelligence and machine learning based clinical operations. Medical device innovation, whether it's an equipment or a device, really doesn't matter. I think we as an engineer can't really afford to go into discovering biomolecules, which a pharma industry does. So healthcare is again divided into three broad categories. You have a pharma industry, you have a devices industry, and you have an equipment industry. Pharma is something I don't think a engineer, unless he or she is a biomedical engineer or has a interest in chemistry and biology and all. I think pharma engineers are not able to touch that much. I'll not say they can't touch, but your devices and making contribution to the field of equipment, medical equipment, I think you guys all said. And obviously there are accreditations mainly around regulatory environments, healthcare software solutions with computer vision and image recognition. I think um, um, we we uh, we have a technology wherein a patient's image, whether it's whether it's any X-ray or any kind of image from any part of the body, scans and all, can be virtually uploaded to a doctor in Europe, and within like 30 seconds you get the diagnosis, and the physician on the ground can help that. I think those are the if you make that faster, better. I think you have what it takes. To make a name for yourself. Whether it's a health, I mean, if it's healthcare, good. Any industry, you need to find the thread, and the thread should be around what is the problem that industry is facing today, or what is that you want to contribute. What is your idea around the passion what you have? Okay, I know. When I talk about passion, you guys might be thinking that what about passion? When we got into engineering, 4 years down the line, I just need to pick up a well-paying job, and then I'm set. Some people will say I'm set. Some people will say that's a stepping stone for my next journey. And everybody has a different personal journey. But I can tell you one thing, that wherever you are and whosoever you are, I think all of you have an extremely successful and a bright future. I can give that in writing. Why I'm saying that with so much of confidence is for the simple fact that, and Professor Channa can remember this. And I remember Dr. Saurav Channa, who's another professor at a college, was my batchmate. I mean, we all can empathize. During those days, while we are not so much about career, at least at the end of third year, we used to start thinking about, okay, what will happen to me next? We had 2.5 years of fun. Now what next? But and there we had our moments of anxieties and concerns that where will I go, and what will I be doing? What kind of job I'll be picking up? How do I prepare for an interview? Uh, and we were a batch of about 298 people. I know the batch is pretty large right now, but we are 298 people, and we are virtually, we are like brothers and sisters, man. When we could have stood up for each other like. But anyway, so the thing is that out of 298 people, you talk to anyone, and I would say almost all of us would say that we are happy with what we are doing. We have no complaints with the journey what we traveled. All of us had our individual journeys, so don't be too anxious about your future. Be anxious, be reasonably confident, and be true to what you want to do, what makes you happy. And the last bit on the specific to healthcare, I'll just say, if you can gamify the clinical experience, okay, healthcare is a serious business, but still, if you can bring in an element of fun in the drab working what people go through, I think that'll be great. Next slide. Spend a little more time. I know I'm like 10 minutes over what I thought I'd be speaking on, but I think this is important. And these are the building blocks for the kind of successful professional you might become. So this thought is extremely important, and most of it you might be knowing, but I'll just add my spiel to the entire thing. I think nothing is impossible. I mean, your belief should be, if anybody can, you should be able to do it better. So I mean, you should have just a clear vision, a kind of dedication to how work hard. You can by climbing on other shoulders, you can only go a certain distance. So there is no shortcut to working hard. I can tell you this actually, and working smart as well. An idea, and you, as I was saying, that idea that adds value to the target audience, you need to, if you can figure that out, that's good. And but you have to have this belief that you can do anything. You can. There's no milestones in this world what you can't achieve professionally. We keep on talking about disruption, being disruptive and all, but what I see is, and I think I'll just try to be a little cautious here. and I'll request you guys to be sensitive to this line. Be disruptive, but yet be collaborative. Being disruptive doesn't mean being a lone ranger, wherein if I were to win, I'll win alone. No, if you win with more people and if you win as a team, I think one is that sense of satisfaction is higher, and people will respect you, and you never know those people how can they help you in future. Don't get bogged down by reversals. I think you need to take this thing that when you fail, uh, failure is not you. Failure is just a part of you. Okay, so don't allow failures to define you as an individual. Do not ever get scared of failures. They are stepping stones to success, provided you analyze the mistakes well. And now, if you say that I failed and I'm going to fail again with the same kind of mistake and fail thrice, 4 times, doing the same thing, expecting the same different outcome, I think that's foolish. While failing is okay, learning from that mistake is also very important. Generally, I've seen people don't analyze and ascribe failure to luck. Luck just plays kind of 1% role in your success. I'll put it this way. I mean, I come from a very humble background. If I go back into where I came from, a very middle class family from a small town, wherein getting a public sector job or a government job was like be all end all of everything. Uh, but if you have to chart your course, you have to be determined, you have to be sincere, and most importantly, you have to be honest to yourself. Learn from your experience. Error is when you make the same mistakes again and again. Don't do that. And I would say staying hungry and staying foolish is. I know there's a book by this name, but I like this phrase, so I kind of put it here. One who respects experience and be aggressive to learn new things. At some point of time, you should not lose the bigger focus or the purpose in life. I mean, if I have to go to, let's say, Bombay, I can go to Calcutta and then go to Bombay, or I can directly go to Bombay. But at least I know in my mind that I have to go to Bombay. I mean, you should never lose sight of your bigger focus in life. Even if you're working in a bureaucracy, and I am a part of Niti Aayog, wherein I help them. No, I'll not say help them. I'm just an honorary member as far as the medical equipments and devices portfolio of theirs is concerned. I think the very refreshing thing what I've been seeing in the Indian bureaucracy today is that people want to do things. They have a mindset which is not about uh, being in the maintenance mode. It's people want to change. Some part of the system might be a little anxious, but they are willing to change. The reason for me mentioning this is whether you're in bureaucracy or you're in a corporate world, whether you're in a family business, whether you're running a startup, having that startup mindset is most important. Even in a conventional setup, I mean, divide the problems into various parts with a clear vision of the end goal, what I was mentioning earlier. Ascribe likelihood scenarios to each parts, bifurcate the parts into path dependent and path independent steps, solve paths independent steps simultaneously and path dependent steps successfully or parallelly. I don't know if I made sense or not, but I'm willing to repeat what I said. At least I'll try to repeat what I said. But you okay, let me give you an analogy. If you have to eat an elephant, and speaking proverbially, I am not asking you to eat the elephant, but if you have to eat the elephant, you have to cut it into pieces. So whether the problem is big, you just need to just focus on the part you can solve right now, while not losing sight of the agenda at hand that this whole problem has to be solved. I mean, if I solved a part of the problem, I should feel good. But then I need to move on to what I need to solve next. It should not be that this problem I solved, this part of the problem I solved, and I feel that I have solved the problem. No, it doesn't happen that way. Do not lose any opportunity to experience leadership. I've seen instances in my life where people had no experience, had no knowledge, but just because an opportunity got thrown their way, they just raised their hands and said, "I'm going to do this." Okay, so don't be scared. Don't be scared of experience. Don't be scared of moments or chances where you can experience leadership. I mean, that can transform you in so many ways you can't believe it. I mean, if I have to take an analogy back to, let's say, my days at REC, we used to have this Litrati, Utsav festivals and all, and I still remember Dr. Philip, he retired now, I understand. But then we are having this thing, and we said that there was a Nukkad Natak which was supposed to happen, and I, Dheeraj Agarwal, Vishal Singh, me, Suvir, all of us thinking what to do about it. And Dr. Philip said that I can't think about it. Can somebody help me? And we are 7 guys standing there. And Dheeraj Agarwal said, Sir, I'll do it. And I'm purposefully picking up this instance from REC because you guys can connect it well there. So I was talking about experiencing leadership. I'll just say that don't lose any opportunity to experience leadership. I mean, even if you are ill prepared for that, pick it up. You can learn on the way. You can make your mistakes, but because there's no ideal qualification, there's no ideal place, there's no ideal scenario where you can become a leader. As we say, the circumstances makes you a leader. So just don't let a chance to experience leadership. Do not procrastinate on difficult decisions. I would say that always try to take the difficult ones first. Read well. I mean, read. I've seen, and I personally do that actually. Even with the age of Kindle, I still like hard books with the feel of paper. But I think have a flair for reading and read on diverse subjects. That helps you in developing good interpersonal relationships, ability to do networking. Knowledge never goes waste. And if you develop that thing, it also helps you widen your horizons and widen your understanding. So please read and read not only in the area of your interest. Try to make yourself uncomfortable. Read things which you don't like elsewhere, because that will really widen your horizon. Will make you a much more holistic individual. Though it is difficult to, but do try to find your passion. I said even that earlier. I think. And don't get bogged down by saying you don't have the economic means to pursue your passion. I mean, you need to keep that flame alive in you. Most importantly, always uphold integrity, probability, and fairness in life. Today, you are judged, you are assessed. At moments, you don't even know you're being assessed. People look at you, people say, oh, he made that a statement. That is a reflection on his personality. He acted in this way. That is a reflection on that individual. I mean, integrity, probability, fairness in life, I think they are virtues. Efficiency can be achieved by transforming and processing tools, but there's nothing to compensate for honesty and integrity. Last and the most important, and I did not mention it here for a reason, is especially in this age, and we do the ourselves. I mean, though we passed out almost like 24, 25 years ago, always be ready to unlearn and learn. You're having a degree which will be getting out of NITKAA, and then subsequently you'll do your masters or whatever, and people will go into job. Don't think that's the end all of your learning journey. Today we are at a phase that we have to in that learning mode all throughout our lives. Always be ready to add to your skills, unlearn things which have become outdated, learn things which are new. So I would specifically suggest that make this as a part of your growing journey, a professional DNA. That I'm willing to unlearn and learn. I'm willing to reskill and upskill, and whatever you have to do that for that. Next slide, please, Tamil. Well, career choices in healthcare, quick one. It's just a lead from my earlier conversations. Pharmaceutical manufacturing and R&D genomics. As I mentioned earlier, medical device and diagnostic innovations. The healthcare operations from provider payer point of view, hospital operations, healthcare IT, the digitalization and the analytics of healthcare processes, healthcare education and skill building portals, your healthcare startups, especially in the field of medical device and diagnostics innovation, is one area where low cost, high quality solutions are required to provide healthcare facility. to masses remotely or physically in telemedicine, etc. All of you know this already, but I'm just repeating. Uh, Healthcare is the second largest sector with the startup ecosystem, and there's a huge untapped talent there. In India, last count, and we did this I think about in the month of August. We have about close to 9,500 startups in India, and a percentage of healthcare startups is about 13 to 14. So the healthcare startups is around 1250, 1300, something like that. One thing you need to be very careful if you are thinking, contemplating about healthcare startup, or if you are already in this field, the gestation period and the time frame to break even is very long. It's almost double what is typically there in a field like insurance or fintech and all. I mean, there you can talk about a business plan which can possibly make you break even, and that's again a aggressive and optimistic scenario of 2.5 to 3 years. In healthcare, it's typically 7, 8 years, maybe 12 years. So one has to be extremely careful about that. And so I mentioned Edison X. I think that's if you guys search that, it's just a GE Healthcare. That's a startup collaboration program, which kind of we use to identify startups and promote digitalization in healthcare, and we can partner with them. We kind of mentor them. So I leave it at that. The last slide, what I added was how do we evaluate the startups? I mean, if you are a startup, if you have your own money, you are blessed. If you're looking for a VC or a PE money or an industry sponsorship, I thought maybe I'll talk about the startup evaluation. How do we evaluate the startups at GE? And since I'm also a part of some VC forums, and I do have conversations with private equities, and I see those things happening in the global ecosystem. So I'll also dip into my experiences and conversations there to add to that. Tanvi, can I have the next slide, please? So this is how we do things at G, and then I'll add 2, 3 points which are like also relevant from a larger thing. When I talk about team profile, I think it's about and then we whosoever is evaluating the startups, we rank them on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the least and 5 being the best. Team profile, technical skills, product and business experience, market understanding, unique feature of the team with respect to the startup solution, coachability, whether team is willing to learn and is willing to be coached, pedigree of the teams and the advisors which have been there, the business, the idea of the business, what is the market size it's addressing, the competitive landscape, the potential revenue streams, what the company is thinking of, and how they want to monetize their idea, what would be the barriers to entry for them, and what would be the barriers to entry if they become successful today for the next second company to come in. So those are some of the success factors we kind of look at. The product, the stage of development, the patent or the intellectual property, the scalability of the business model, whether it's scalable or it's like whether it's a very geographically limiting solution. And most of the time, to be honest, I don't see a geographically limiting solutions today. Maybe 6 years ago I used to see that. I don't see that happening today. And obviously, when we are doing this as a part of our startup collaboration program, we need to see if there's an alignment with the GE healthcare focus areas. The company, the team coordination, the dedication towards the startup, the cash availability for next 12 months, is it sustainable, financially sustainable? Will it survive even if they don't get industry funding? And while we okay, Edison X program is about collaboration. We don't fund the startups. Okay, we just help them become better. Ownership is structured between the founders and the investors. So we go into the SHAs and things like that. Who owns them? What kind of a value they bring on the table? Is it as a sleeping partner, or is it just like somebody who's very actively involved? So all those things we kind of look at. The alignment, the strategic alignment to the program, the industry, the Edison platform, the clear articulation of reasons to join the program. This is very specific to the Edison X program actually, and technical integrability, the compatibility of technology architecture with the G engineering. So this is what the GE piece is. Now coming to the larger world of startup and startup funding. I think when you talk to any VC, I think one thing they will be looking at very closely is that is it an idea which will burn cash, or at some point of time will become cash flow positive? I mean, a couple of years ago, if you guys remember, 2015 is when I exited my startup, and during those days, number of users on your platform used to be a kind of benchmark. So user acquisition used to be a benchmark for saying, oh, I'm acquiring users at the rate of 1,000 users per day, and people used to say, wow. But in the process, nobody looked at how much cash you're burning. What is the cost? The cost of acquisition per user becomes important. So user acquisition is important. The cost of acquisition of your user is also very important, and that's something which nobody will tell you. So you need to be the cost of acquisition of a user, that is important. Second is, if you're doing a startup, it can't be a part-time thing for you. I mean, I remember I was doing an evaluation of a startup and I really liked the idea. And we are at this point of time as a group. I mean, we're a consortium of friends, and some of them from REC, my batchmates. And we said, okay, this is a good place to start and good place to invest. And when we're diving deep into this, we realized that there were two people who said that this is their startup, and there's a third guy who owned 50%, and these guys own 25%, 25%. And there's a, what is the third guy? He said, oh, he works today. He used to work for a very reputed company. I'm not going to take the name. And I said, why is he not here? He said, no, he planned to be there, but something important came up at his office place. So he said, okay, can we get him in a call? And we got him in a call actually. And I asked him that why, if the idea is so brilliant and you guys are funding it and you have put in 50% of the equity and 50% of the money, why you are not here? As you know, I was thinking that let it reach a stage where it is successful, and at that point in time, I'll quit my job and get into the startup. Now look at it this way, okay? This guy is hedging his risk, okay? I am an investor. I'm willing to put in money. Will I really like to put in my money there? I would not, and there's nothing wrong in what that person was doing. He was hedging his risk. It's a personal decision. But if a PE guy has to invest or a VC has to invest, they need to see your 100% commitment. It can't be a part-time thing for you. So those are two important things I would say. Don't try to be a copycat unless your idea is has got a better resource. No idea is good or bad. Okay, it's like unless you have that wherewithal to go stronger. I mean, I'll give you an example from the startup ecosystem. 1mg.com is again a pharmaceutical online pharmacy. NetMeds is an online pharmacy. 1mg.com, and I know Tandon. He started 16 years ago, no, 12 years ago. 2008 he started with the idea, and then he kind of tried to scale it up and all. NetMed started in 2015. Just because NetMed had a better access to better resources, better money, they went in much faster. Today, when Reliance is acquiring them, why are they not acquiring 1mg.com? Not because 1mg.com idea is not good. The idea is the same. Only thing, NetMeds, and if you meet the Dadas who used to own NetMeds, you will realize that their idea is same as Tannen's of 1mg.com, but they had so much money that they could bring in people, advisors to help them grow faster. So anyway, I kind of I'll take a pause. Kind of that brings to the end of my presentation. I hope I was able to add value, but I'll be more than happy to take any questions, add any perspective, and address any concerns what people might have. Thank you, everybody. Over to you, Tanvi.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, sir, for this enlightening talk, and also thank you so much for sharing the glimpse of your college life. It is always so good to see how how the life of our seniors so many years ago was. So I already have a lot of questions from the comment section. So I'll begin with my friend Sejal, who is asking that what do you think the personality of a company affects a person? How much does that count, and how should you choose a company on that factor?
Very interesting question, Sejal. I think it reflects the maturity of the thought you have on this, and I think makes a lot of sense. So I don't know how others will answer it. I'll answer it from my perspective. Okay, so when I was passing out, not so much from the engineering college, but from the business school, and that was like 3 years. 96 I did my engineering, 99 I passed out from FMS, yeah. And even 96, when we are looking at things, extremely important. Okay, the DNA of a company is extremely important. What makes the DNA? I'll try to address that as well. But going back to 96, I think at that one time the way it used to stack up in the head, पैसे अच्छे होने चाहिए यार, salary अच्छी मिलनी चाहिए, मैं कहीं भी काम कर लूंगा. Then used to be मैं कुछ भी काम कर लूंगा. It used to be around JD, as long as it's about a job of an engineer. And then third used to come as a culture of the company, and fourth used to say people of the company. And we are too low in the food chain, in a corporate food chain, to make that kind of decision. I mean, you guys will laugh, but if I remember correctly, the best salary, the monthly salary what get paid on the campus was TCS, which used to pay. No, not TCS. I think it was ABB, 9,400, and TCS was 8,300, and these are like per month salaries. I know, sounds funny, but that's what it used to be. And it used to be, I want the highest paying job, but that's a double-edged sword. As I progressed in my life, if I have to evaluate my choice of career today, I think culture becomes the most important. So I talked about 4 points. Okay, I talked about salary. I talked about the role you'll be doing. Third is people you'll be working with, and the overall culture of the company, which is also a function of what people, who the people are working for the company. So to answer your question, I'd say that starting off my journey, that was the thing: salary, JD, people culture. And people culture तक तो मैं पहुंचता भी नहीं था. Salary अच्छी मिल गई, उसके आगे शायद दिखता भी नहीं था लोगों को. But today, and this is not today. I think when I was transitioning from banking into healthcare, that was 2004. So 8 years after passing out of engineering college, it dawned on me that I think the most important thing is about the culture. I mean, if your culture is toxic and you're getting paid 10 times of what the next guy or next close friend of yours is getting paid, you'll not survive. You'll burn out. And you'll probably not be happy, not be successful. That success will be momentary. So personally, my evaluation scale is culture becomes most important. Then I look at the kind of people who work for that company and what kind of references and what kind of standing they have in the industry. Third would be what role I'm supposed to do, what is the value addition I'll be doing, and money kind of becomes a kind of the next thing. And I would probably give that weightage the last. But having said that, the point where you guys are, I think you might say that 24 years of working, you can choose to make that statement. It's easy for you to make that statement. So I would say that look at the right blend. Don't the mistake what we did. I'll not say mistake. Okay, so it used to look like a right decision. Don't give money the most important weightage. It can't be that money decides everything. You should give equal weightage to money, the role you'll be doing, because what role you'll be doing is going to get you your next role, and that's how you'll find your passion and you'll grow in the subsequent year. And third is the culture, because you don't know the people in the industry today. So that's why I'm not even factoring that into your decision-making process. Keep people out, but read more about the culture, whether it's the best employer, how the employees are feeling about it. And today you guys have access to social media. In our days, we never had that. So give equal weightage to the salary package, the role you'll be doing, and the culture. So I hope I have been able to answer your question. If you have a follow-up question, please feel free to post that. Yeah.
Thank you so very much, sir. Next question we have from Shubham Goel from third year. What 3 things you generally look in your co-workers while deciding your perfect team? And we have, on a similar note, other question, which is, since you have done a lot of recruiting, so what are exactly the factors you look in a candidate? Because many times we have experienced this thing that even after having a very perfect interview, the candidates gets rejected. So what are exactly the factors you see?
So just park that second question a little later. That's very interesting. To answer your first question, Sugam, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
So to answer your first 3 things, look, I don't do too many interviews these days. Okay. There's a team which handles that, and my team is extremely competent. But until it's my direct staff. So today I have a team of 467 people, 467, 470, something like that. And my direct staff is only 13. Okay, so I only work through 13 people with my entire team on this. So those 13 people, obviously, I'll interview them, but larger recruitment I don't get into until there's a strategic intent and things like that. But depending upon the role and at different levels, um, uh, one is the fitment of that person is extremely important in terms of the competencies and the education and the qualification what the person brings in. So that becomes extremely important. And I'm assuming this question I'm trying to answer this from the perspective that it would be about a fresher or at least somebody who's like about only 2-3 years now in a professional setup. So I'm trying to answer from that perspective.
Yes,
The
sir.
fitment, qualification, experience, education becomes extremely important. That will be the first criteria for me. Second is what I mentioned in my earlier conversation. Are you willing to unlearn and learn, reskill and upskill yourself? Because most of the things what you guys study today, not here only, but in most geographies of the world, it is extremely theoretical. Okay, some of it has got practical relevance and practical application, but 100% can we uproot it from an engineering college and put it in a corporate world? No, it doesn't happen that way. So are you flexible to unlearn and learn? And you will have to. So thinking that you've got your BTech degree is the end all and be all of everything. No, the journey has just started, my friend. I'll put it that way. So you should have that willingness to do that. Third is that are you inquisitive enough? And I lay a lot of stress, and that's why I kept it at last. I personally lay a lot of stress in this. That are you inquisitive about how we work, what we do, what are the new things what the company is trying to get into? More not from a perspective of we used to have a phrase for this, not to show off actually. Genuinely from the perspective of and leaders who interview this then can make the difference. Um, from the perspective of how you can fit in that value journey, the value chain journey, what I was mentioning earlier. So the sense of inquisitiveness. You remember I talked about staying hungry, staying foolish. So that's where I was coming from. The first, so to sum it up, first is what education, qualification, competencies, and capacities what you're bringing to the table. That's a function of what you have learned so far and what you're doing at the engineering college. Next two is not at all a function of what you have been done so far. And the next two things what I mentioned is it's about a mindset. Okay, is about unlearning, learning, reskilling, upskilling, willing to do that, and all along, not only for that job. It's a trait I'm talking about. And the third thing what I said, like being inquisitive, being hungry, being foolish कि बस ये कैसे काम करता है, इसको करने से क्या होगा, इसको करने से कंपनी को क्या फायदा होगा, will it make look good, will it make you look good, your boss. I mean, always if you have the right boss, and that's very important. I'll underline the word right boss. The only way you can grow faster is to ensure that your boss grows faster, because उसकी जगह खाली होगी तुम बढ़ोगे. It's as simple as that. Now, second question, what I had asked you to Park Tanvi, what was that?
So it was about why, even after having a perfect interview, you gets rejected sometimes. So what are exactly the things you see in a candidate while
Okay.
recruiting?
Okay. I have been in that seat. Okay. If you guys go back into your placement records for 1996, you will find a very funny statistics there. During our days, TCS used to come to campus and we used to say that they recruit by buses. एक बस लेके गई कि दो बस लेके गई. I mean, about 53 people or 100 people. And I remember in my batch, 89 people from a batch of 298 people went to TCS. I was not one of them. Okay. And I cried. I'll be very honest. I mean, I was down, but the kind of friendship ecosystem you had is great. And the statistics what I was referring to in what people will discover when they go to 1996 placement records. I faced 17 interviews on campus, and I failed in each one of them. And those were first 17 professional interviews of my life. And none of those companies selected me. You can imagine what I would have gone through. And from that 18th interview onwards, I have never missed an interview. Okay, I'll not say that never. I'll say 99% of the interviews I have gone into, walked into, I made those interviews. Why? How? I think when you lose an interview, and I know where you might be coming in from, that what happens? I did everything well, but I still didn't get selected. There are a lot of factors which are at play, okay, behind the scene, and it happens in the corporate life. I can tell you this. For instance, I'll give you that GE is one of the very respected and admired company, but right now we have a hiring freeze, okay? And still we post some roles, and people reach out to me saying, "Can I apply for this job?" And I tell them, I'm brutally honest. Actually, I'll be very upfront on that. Actually, I tell them upfront that this job you're not going to get. Because while we are, that might look like a hiring, what is happening is it's happening internal restructuring. Companies go through their own phases. When they restructure, we have to let a few people go. But at the same time, while we are letting people go from one part of the organization, there's another part of the organization which requires people. So that organization, that part of the organization creates a job posting saying that, okay, I want to hire, and anybody can apply. But as an entity, as a principal company, I'll try to take care of individuals who fall in this bucket, who are being impacted by the reorganization in a different part of the industry. So I'll try to accommodate them first. So they are first amongst the equals, and then I'll look at an outsider. So, but somebody who's applying from outside and says, "Boss, I've got the best profile," and how can he take somebody who had no such competency? I'm better than him, and then you start beating. Oh, no, my interview went well, but something happened. Or for that matter, when you're in campus, there's a lot of conversation around, and don't take this statement of mine as a gender bias or anything, please. Okay, I'm trying to be as honest so that you guys can learn on your journey, your professional journey. We have a lot of conversation around diversity and inclusion today. Okay, we have to ensure that when I look at my team, I have to ensure that and if I firmly believe that that's the right thing to do. That I need to have these many percentage of women employees. I need to have these many percentage of racial balances. And this I'm more talking from South Asia and global perspective and all. So suppose I come and interview on a campus and I say, okay, I have to ensure that my gender percentage has to be taken care of. I might not hire a male candidate, but I might hire a female candidate because that will look at my internal matrix saying that, okay, this is the journey, this is where I want to go. The male candidate might be maybe 20% better than the female candidate, but then that dynamics will come also into play. So when you fail, and I mentioned this earlier, don't take that personally. Mistakes and failures is not you; it's only a part of you of the journey. And why I was laughing when you mentioned this question earlier, I just remembered that my 17 interviews agony of 17 interviews. After first 5 interviews, I was immune. I mean, वो बोलते हैं ना, you guys don't have ragging, but we used to have ragging during those days, and it used to be like when you're going through that, it was like it is not such a pleasant thing. But later on, you really the bonding which they kind of created kind of helped. I'm not trying to postulate that ragging is good or bad. Now, why I'm going there is that you are immune after first 5 interviews or after first few days of ragging. You are immune. जो होता है होने दो, जिसको जो करना है कर लो, मुझे जो करना है मैं वही करता रहूंगा. You need to have that kind of belief and confidence. You can't take failures, rejections personally. And you guys are young, man. I mean, if your girlfriend's or your boyfriend rejects you, will you take that personally? You'll probably sulk for maybe 5 days, 10 days, and then you move on to the next person. Look at the job opportunity like that. Have fun. Don't get too serious about life there. I don't know whether I've been able to answer that question, but that's what I had to add actually. So Tanvi.
Yeah, that was great, sir. Definitely. Next question we have from another Shubham Rana, and he's asking that, sir, since you have already ventured startup in healthcare, what are the tips and guidance you can give to start a startup? And what is the process to go through to make a startup running at a good scale and to how to keep yourself motivated?
Hey, you need to repeat it. That's like a lot, actually. I'll forget. So you just need to repeat it.
Okay, sir. Yeah. So basically, he's asking about how to start a startup in healthcare and how to
How
take
to
it to
start a startup in healthcare?
yeah. So basically, and how to take it to a good scale and how to keep yourself motivated in the entire process.
Okay. And to take it to a good skill and motivated in the process. Very, very interesting question. And it's like taking me to my journey. So, how to start and I think I heard somewhere when to start a startup also, something like that, right? Okay. Now, I think very interesting. It takes me in my thoughts almost like 10 years back. So, when to start up, my learning is you should start up as early as possible. Okay. But as early as possible doesn't mean that you kind of step out of the college and you start a startup. When I say you should, if you are going down the startup journey, you should have started your startup by the time you are 36, 37, not after that. I did it when I was like 30, 38, 37. That is late. That is late. Why I started a startup? It's a funny story. Okay, so I have two sons. When my first son was born, I was traveling internationally, and I saw him after 2 days of his being born, and and I always had this thing that Amit, अपना कभी जिंदगी में ना अपना तो कुछ करना है. I have to do something of my own. And when I saw him for the first time, I said like, um, uh, I need to do this quickly. He's already like just born. And then I got into that typical corporate cycle of एक साल और increment, एक साल और bonus, one new posting, one new role. And I kept on doing that for years. I can tell you that. Uh, and then finally, I remember his seventh birthday. I missed actually, and I don't feel too good about it. But today I made this a practice that I'm not going to miss any of my family members' birthdays and things like that. His birthday was there. I was in London, and I called him to wish him, saying that happy birthday, Beta, and he was so excited. Dad, I'm 7 years old, and I was like, oh man, he's already like 7 years old. And I promised that when he was born that I had to go this journey. And what happens if he's 7 years old, if I keep on delaying this thing, um, um, I mean, at the age of 15, he goes to college. I need to support him. अब पता चला कि मैंने स्टार्टअप शुरू किया चला नहीं क्या होगा एंड देन how will I ensure that he has that kind of a security behind him. I mean, he should not at the age of 16, 17, he should not be like getting and saying what did my dad do for me. So I said that if I have to start, I need to start now. If I fail in, if I can make good, good for all of us. If I don't make good, 3-4 साल try करता हूँ and I can always go back to the industry. इतनी equity और इतनी credibility तो है ही. So that was a trigger for me, and I'll say everybody have their personal triggers and personal journeys. When did I start the startup? There's another thing. Okay, so my wife is equally qualified. She was my junior at FMS. I passed in 99, she passed in 2000, and she was working. And when my first son happened, we are not very comfortable with this culture of homemates and daycares and all, and she gave up her career. By that time, I had moved from Citibank in 2004 to Johnson Johnson Healthcare in 2004. Yes, and so she gave up her career. It was a very difficult choice for us as a couple, and started focusing on kids. But I could see that pain, agony, that sense of not being able to do things professionally, even when she's equally qualified. So I started a startup, honestly, if I can use the phrase, and I'm using this in jest, to get the monkey off my back. I wanted to get her occupied well in a field where I can add value if I can. And that's how the whole thing company started. I mean, we started as a pharmacy aggregator, what Grofers and Big Basket do for retail and groceries. We started the company to do it for pharmacies. Then, being in the healthcare industry, when I used to visit hospitals, talk to doctors, talk to hospital administrators, a lot of ideas used to come up, and I said, "Oh, wow, these are the things which is a customer pain problems, and I can have a solution to this, and this is what my structure is." And I said, and I already had this vehicle where my wife was running, or rather keeping that vehicle to keep herself occupied. Now, this is a very personal journey, but being at my college is actually making me reveal this. Not too many people know this actually, but I'll still say that. Uh, so I decided, boss, I mean, that call from London and then saying, boss, I'm done. I'm not going to look at my next year increment. I'm not going to look at my next year bonuses. I'm not going to look at my next role. I'm going to jump into this. Luckily for me, what happened was there's a PE fund, a global PE fund, who was willing to fund me. So I said, okay, fair enough. Good. I quit my job and I said I started looking for people. And but life never is what you want it to be. So this P fund, while they said that they're willing to put in the money and all I had to do was to run the show, I the day I was supposed to sign the appointment letters of some 23 odd people who were supposed to join the organization, I got a call from them saying that they are putting their India plans on hold and they are not going to fund me. And here I have kind of left my job 3 months ago. I'm willing to I'm signing papers to hire these people. I am almost about to sign the lease on my office, and my funding is gone. And it depressed me. But as many things in my life, I always looked at it as a kind of a stepping stone and a kind of a need or a scenario to pivot. What I did was again equally crazy. I said I need to step out of the house. I um, went on a road trip in a bus. Okay, I roamed around the country in the bus saying what next, and I came back after like 10, 12 days, and me and my wife sat down, and my wife said, "Forget it. What do you want to do?" I said, "I always wanted to do this. I don't want at the age of 50 looking back saying that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've never done this." And then we looked at what are the assets we had created over like 10, 15 years and all, and we said, "Oh, okay, if you have to run it." My idea of that startup was I had some 17 different modules in my mind. And I said, okay, I'll not do 17 modules. We already have one module running. What are the other things which you can do in a much more cash optimized way? Uh, I had promised my children that nothing is going to change for them. And I sold my own house. I sold my own house, uh, rent into the same house. Luckily for me, the new landlord was out of country and he's willing to rent it back to me. And journey was painful, I can tell you that, when it was there. Um, uh, I mean, people generally around 30th or 1st of the month are happy that the salary is going to hit their bank accounts. I used to be looking at my ceiling fan late in the night, lying on my bed, saying, what kind of a thing have I got into? What am I doing? And at one point in time, I had 100 people, 102 people to support actually. So it can be painful, but that was I kept on it. On the way, I got a lot of opportunity from VCs and Ps where they said that they're willing to fund me. But knowing myself, and Dr. Chanda can possibly agree to that, and Saurav Chandan definitely will agree to that. That I'm extremely bull-headed guy. If I have something on my head, I will do it that way exactly. So most of these VCs guys and P guys, they came up with a lot of strings attached. So it was a straight jacketed offering, wherein wherein I could not have run the show that I wanted to run the show, and I looked at it from this perspective that uh, that it's me who is putting my life, my professional life at risk. I'm putting in heart and soul. I'm putting my sweat and blood in this. And somebody just brings in money and says that this is how you want to run this. Sorry, not happening, boss. I will run it. So we kept on burning our own assets and kept on funding it. Luckily for me, and that's maybe a story for another day, is that something happened in the industry at that one time. I was fortunate enough to get a offer, which was 50% equity, 50% cash, and we again debated as a family. And luckily for me, the whole company was held between me and my wife. And we debated and we said that, what do you want to do now? And I said, look, man, we have run it for 4.5 years. It is painful. Okay, and when we were exiting this, we had just 2 months of cash left to pay people. We did not have anything actually at that point. And I said, if I'm getting out of it, I'm getting out of it for good. 50% equity, wherein I can't run the show, I can just have a possibly a board seat, which will not even matter with some 8 board members being there on the board. So how do I do this? So we said, if we are exiting, I'm exiting for good. I'm not, I wanted to be an entrepreneur once in my lifetime. I'm extremely blessed and grateful to God that I'm getting an opportunity to exit. And it was a very, very profitable exit of what I got. So that kind of helped me get out of it. So we changed that whole conversation from being 50% equity to 50% cash to 100% cash. I took that cash and I said I'm retired for life, but then I realized at the age of 43, you can't, not working is actually a bigger job than working. And that's how I end up came back into the corporate life. So when, how to take it to a good scale, motivated, I think, I only the one thing, man. Uh, if you fail, let not that failure define you. You need to, I also mentioned that you have to always have the sight on the end goal. You have to be passionate. You have to be eccentrically passionate about what you want to do. So I'll put it this way. I'm not too sure if I answered your question, but that's the best I have actually. And I'm sorry for, I mean, thanks for bearing with me and my personal journey. I had never any intention of taking you guys there, but this question kind of put me in that spot. Yeah.
So actually, that is the perks of listening from an alumni, because only an alumni can actually share that with us. And this all experience which you have gathered over so many years is truly golden for us. So definitely, even the personal journey counts. So from your journey, actually, I have a question now.
Yeah, tell me, Nabi.
Yeah, so you had a dream, like you wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, and like you said that after one promotion, after one bonus and all that keep on coming. So actually, I have this kind of fear that whatever dreams we want to pursue, let us say it is not possible at this stage, and you postpone them from 2 to 3 years. How to make sure this thing that you will come back to it? Like you won't get stuck in a fear cycle, or you won't get stuck in that kind of corporate cycle. Like today you are able to realize that it would capture you, but to kind of save yourself from it in the future.
Okay, I'll answer this in a very, very philosophical way. There's a book by, I am forgetting the name of the book, but it's definitely there, by Paulo Coelho. Um, the last line in that book I remember, and this also, I think, it's a part of one of Hindi movies. It's like if you're passionate enough and if you have this thought at the back of your head at every time that this has to happen, universe will make it happen for you. Now that's a philosophical way of answering that. Okay. Did I know that when I was passing out of college, I had this thing that I wanted to do something on my own. 96. When I passed out of FMS, I said I want to do something. And FMS, I went in a hardcore finance guy. I mean, went to FMS. I did my summers in finance. And then I realized I can't do a desk job. I can't be sitting in a desk job. I need to get out in the field. So FMS had that thing of finance plus marketing combination where you can major in finance and minor in marketing. I came back and I changed my specialization to marketing. And people said you're not going to get a job. You did your summers in finance and now you're looking for a job in marketing. And as a boss, ठीक है. जब एटलीस्ट अपनी गलती के कारण अगर रोना ही है तो शुरू में रोना चाहिए बाद में जिंदगी में थोड़ी रोता रहूंगा so a mistake is like if you have to course correct now is a good time there's nothing called as an ideal time okay and I took that decision first day in fact on day zero I got through Asian Paints very reputed company on the campus during those days it still is actually in supply chain I learned all my things around distribution supply chain from that company uh, did I know I'm going to go to Asian Paints and learn everything? No. Um, then from Asian Paints, I moved to Citibank. And to be honest, this is funny. Today, if you show me any balance sheet or any annual report, I can actually tell you what is trying to hide and what is trying to tell you. When they don't write what they're trying to hide. But all the balance sheet and annexures and all, I can actually read and I can tell you exactly what the balance sheet is trying to tell you, but most importantly, what the balance sheet is not trying to tell you. And it's also important from the perspective of the startups, what we as invested as a company and all. But the point what I'm trying to make is that when I passed through FMS, I did not know how the balance sheet, and it has two columns, right? Assets and liabilities, both have to balance. I did not know how to balance the balance sheet when I passed out of FMS, being very, very honest. Citibank taught me that. So at every step of my career, I just took an opportunity and say, what I can add value to this company and what I can learn from this company. And that's why I mentioned Asian Paints distribution, supply chain. I learned from that company. In terms of reading a financial report and assessing a opportunity financially. I used to be in home loans. I used to give loans to people. There's to risk. I used to write risk mitigation reports, risk assessment profiles for people. That taught me a lot. Then I made this crazy jump from banking into healthcare. And to be honest, it was personally for me, I was so bored with what I was doing in banking. I said, "Yeah, zindagi mein abhi to seekhna hai." So I went into healthcare thinking, "Yeah, 6 months काम करे देखता हूँ, नहीं I can always come back to companies like HSBC, Standard Chartered and all." And I that 6 months became my passion for life. I never discovered it. So to answer your question, don't plan things. Don't take it too seriously. All you have to do is, when you get into a situation and you think that this is the best choice you're making, make sure you are able to add value to that role or choice or whatever it is. More importantly, is what you can learn out of it. Take 3 things which you can learn by that association with that company or from that company. It's extremely important. And then let the life decide its course. It will come to you. I mean, healthcare was my passion. I never knew that. I mean, it's funny that healthcare, when my Johnson & Johnson interview happened, the guy asked me, "What do you know about Johnson & Johnson?" And I said, like, baby products. And he said, like, that's the smallest part of our business. During those days, we did not have courses on hospital management. M.B.A courses, M.B.A schools never talked about the healthcare management courses. I mean, all these healthcare companies used to have people who have joined them and grown in the organization. You should have to have the capability to take a leap of faith with whatever you believe in. So Tanvi, I'll leave it at that.
Thank
So
you so much,
you
sir.
can't chart a course. I mean, somebody says, I find it funny, and I ask that question myself in interviews. I used to ask rather, where do you see your career 5 years down the line? And I used to see some very colorful answers. I remember maybe 6, 7 years ago, I was interviewing somebody, and this guy was 25 years old, out of a business school in the US. And I was interviewing, and it's like, in his typical thing, player, he said, "I want to be a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company." First, he said, "I want to be a CEO in 5 years." And so, CEO? He said, "Yes." And this guy is like 25 or 26 years old. I said, "What kind of company?" He said, "Multi-million-dollar company." And I said, "Okay, your own company, or you want to be like, join somebody?" He said, "No, I'll join a company, I'll become CEO in like 5 years." You need to have a realistic goals. 5 years don't become a CEO, number one. Number two, the next question what I asked this guy was, okay, you become a CEO at the age of 31. What will you do after that? Will you be like for next 29 years, assuming the retirement age to be 60, will you be a CEO only? So you have to be very realistic what you want to do and keep very realistic goals. And don't fret too much about how am I going to get there, what will happen. Keep that in the back of your mind. Try to make the most of the opportunity what is there in hand and try to learn every day. Learn from every assignment. That's the most important thing. At least
Thank you.
that's how it is work for me.
Yeah. Thank you so very much, sir, for all these answers. And it is so heartwarming to see the passion still in you. That is really motivating. So now I would like to invite Pankaj sir for giving the vote of thanks for his. Pankaj sir?
Yeah, thank you, Tanvi. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, sir.
Great. Amit, I think I have no words to say thanks. Thanks are like very small word for like for the last 1.5 hour. It was really wonderful talk, wonderful content, wonderful delivery, and probably wonderful passion, energy level, whatever I want. So you have met our expectations of the students. Perhaps I was feeling about all these things more than more than 100 times. So because I began this alumni talk after a long time, after a gap of maybe around 2 years. Let me tell you the background. We used to have this alumni talk series in a different mode. I think right in 2013 we initiated this process. We used to have only one day and used to call like 3, 4, 5 alumni on the same day, like talking on some kind of the the one particular domain for the complete day, and it used to happen in one day in one semester or one day in 1 year. But during this COVID-19, it got disrupted, and then we had some gap. And I was thinking for the last 3-4 months to reinitiate it, reiterate it, and in the form of a different manner that we could use this COVID-19 pandemic, difficult times, to an opportunity for the students. I wanted to initiate before the placement station starts, because all such kind of queries come to their minds. You're like, as you were talking about, like you were interviewed for 17 times, and even then, you got success. So these are some of the queries I also get from the students almost on the daily basis. So one thing is, even my son was asking me like 15 minutes ago that what the Papa is listening so seriously. I was so serious in your talk, and I did not like move from my seat itself, and it was so interesting, so interesting. So hats off to Amit, and NITKAA feels proud of you, first of all. And really salute to your passion, energy level, and the questions can be these questions can be asked by the students to anywhere in like Google also. But once an alumnus supplement his or her life experience while answering those questions, it gives much and more impact to the students. So this is the basically what we are looking from our like very distinguished alumnus out of this alumni talks. And one thing is really impressed me out of your content and one slide, because you have already demarcated like what is how the successful and unsuccessful men are. It is only the mindset. One of the most important criteria is the mindset, which makes a person successful and unsuccessful. So I really like that slide, and I was just trying to read the slides 2 or 3 times while you were narrating this. You were talking on that slide. So nothing is impossible, and stay hungry and stay foolish and experiencing leadership. So many things you have talked about, disruptive versus collaborative. Very impressive. So thank you very much. I think our students must have been being educated out of all your experience, life experience, your life journey, even your personal journey. You have shared some and some of the instances, and probably it was very nostalgic also, because once you were using the word TCS used to take by buses, I would like to improve upon. I still remember that day, because I was quite involved with the students at that point of time also. We used to call the TCS used to take by trucks, not by the buses. So like TCS ka truck aaya, aaj ek truck jayega ya do truck jayega. So this was the common talk inside the campus. So thank you very much, Amit, once again, and probably we'll continue with the same spirit. And for the students also, for their patient hearing, I think we should disseminate this information to all our different students, because we have 5,000 students in the campus. Such kind of interactions will definitely benefit our students. I'm of this opinion, and will continue in the same spirit, maybe monthly or bi-monthly or whatever it is, seeing the response of the students. So thank you all the event management team. Probably Kandarp and Tanvi and Sejal has done a wonderful job in organizing this event, and thank you from my side also. Thank you, Amit, once again. God bless.
Thank you, sir. I think the pleasure was all mine, and wish everyone on this call and at the campus all the best and all the luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.